All right, so we just talked about scarcity and making decisions, going through a cost-benefit analysis, thinking at the margin, and what opportunity cost is. One tool that you can use, whether you're an individual, business, or even the government and society, is what's called a production possibility curve. Okay, a curve is just simply a graph, and this graph helps us analyze a choice to make between two possibles and the trade-offs that are involved. A lot of times this might look at goods and services. For government, it might look at what they call guns versus butter, spending tax dollars on military protection versus butter issues, which might be more domestic issues like building roads or schools or those sorts of things. We'll talk more about that when we get to fiscal policy. But this graph is called a production possibility curve, and it just simply shows alternative ways that an economy can use its productive resources. There's a fictional example in your textbook, and there's a country called Cape Land, and they have to decide between using their scarce resources of a field to either build a factory and make shoes or to get some seeds and grow watermelon. Apparently in this particular fictional world, these two choices would be the ones that could yield maybe the biggest profit for an entrepreneur. And so they can do either one or the other, or maybe a combination of both. The line that I'm going to show you on this curve is called a production possibility frontier. And on that line, if any point is represented on that line, it represents what we call full efficiency, meaning we are not wasting those factors of production, the land, the labor, or the capital. They're all being used 100% with no waste, maximized to its fullest potential. And so that's the frontier. That's the best we can do. We can't go past the frontier. Anything to the left of it will represent what we call underutilization, where we're using fewer resources than what's possible. And the only way that you could truly go beyond the frontier line is to either increase your current resources, more land, better labor, more labor, and then better capital, better machinery, for instance, better technology. When you add those things, well, then the current frontier line would no longer be a valid picture. You'd basically be drawing a new frontier that would show a shift to the right or an increase in what's possible. But it's only when you add those resources. And so what a production possibility curve does tell us, they can show us how efficient an economy is, whether the economy is growing, and also the opportunity cost of producing one more good or service. So it's a good tool for thinking at the margin. So here's the field that we're talking about, and they can either, again, grow crops here or build a factory and make shoes. And so here's a production possibilities table. If we were to grow, let's say, 0 watermelon and build a factory and only make shoes, then what's possible, given our resources, would be 15 million pairs of shoes. If you go the other end of the spectrum, if we didn't do any shoes at all and used all the field for growing watermelon, we could grow 21 million tons of watermelon. So both of these would be represented up here. If you look over here, you have the 15 million pairs of shoes here, but that means 0 watermelons down here. But if you go over here and we did all watermelon, 21 million tons, you would have 0 shoes. But you can do combinations of both. You could build a smaller factory and also farm. So when we go from no watermelons and 15 million pairs of shoes and decide, hey, let's use part of the field to actually grow the crop, and let's say we increase from 0 watermelons to now 8 million tons of watermelons, you see over here that we decreased what we can do in shoes. You can only use, you only have so many resources. They're scarce. So when we increased 8 million tons of watermelons, the opportunity cost, what we gave up, was 1 million pairs of shoes. We went from 15 down to 14 million pairs. Now, if we were to increase again and go from 8 to 14, okay, so we're going, again, if we're at watermelons, if we move now up to here, what's happening is we're going from 14 million pairs of shoes to 12 million pairs of shoes. So here we only lost 1 million pairs of shoes, but when we increase production again, notice we lost 2 million pairs. This is where costs tend to increase as you increased production over here, you had a greater opportunity cost. Here it would be 3. From 9 to 5, it's 4. From 5 down to 0, we're losing 5 million pairs. So our opportunity cost is always increasing the more we try to do with a different resource. And so this definitely shows that. But any place on this production possibility frontier demonstrates 100% efficiency. Anything to the left of it we said was underutilization. So if we're at point B, we're not growing or making as many shoes or watermelons as is what is possible. Maybe our tools are slowing us down. Maybe a few workers called in sick. Something is causing us to underutilize. And again, this purple line, a different frontier line, is not possible. So we can't go from what is possible on the orange line to what's possible on the purple line without increasing our technology or our land, our labor, or our capital. Okay, so hopefully this gives you a good idea of what a production possibility curve is and how we can use it.